Hello everybody, my name is Petr Koutný. Today I'm going to show a really interesting weapon against French defense. I don't want to promise you that you will kill French defense at all, but I'm going to promise you that you will have fun. I'm going to promise you that you will surprise your opponent and you will know really well what to play without learning too much theory. That's exactly what's going on, and I think that this is a good choice against Petroff defense and French defense. And the strongest player on the board who is playing this variation is Magnus Carlsen. So that's a sign that these opening lines are not boring and are not bad. So e4, e6, d4, d5, and let's surprise our opponent with unknown exchange variation. That's funny because lots of people believe that this is a draw. Lots of people believe that this is a boring variation, but don't leave this video too early because you will see a really funny variation, and in every variations white is playing for victory, advantage, and it's not easy for black to handle these positions. So knight f3, knight f6, and bishop d3. That's a main line. And another advantage coming from exchange French defense is that we can play the same against Petroff defense. Knight f3, we are taking d3, d4, and now bishop d3. So French or Petroff nearly same, and now nearly everybody of your opponents will play move bishop d6, but we are going to follow all variations, don't worry. Bishop d6 is the main variation, and here the reason why we are playing this exchange variation not for draw but for win is queen on e2 check. Yes, of course, we are going immediately to endgame, but to endgame with slight advantage without tons and tons of theory to known. Okay, I think that here there are only two moves. Bishop e6 or free, then bishop e7, but doesn't make sense black to play bishop d6 and then bishop e7, but we will see. And of course queen e7, that's the main move. Okay, after bishop e6 I think that it's interesting to play knight g5 and to grab this bishop immediately. Why not? Another line is c4. Is a threat to play move c5, and because of this threat I think that black is taking. Queen e7 is forced, castle, and of course now we could take immediately on e6 and has a good pawn formation. Of course our plan should be to attack a weak pawn on e6, but maybe we can increase our pressure and to play knight c3 and say rook e8. We are going to bring our pieces to game, and maybe here d5. You know, first sideline and first proof that this is not a boring. I think that after a queen e2 check it's not good to play bishop e6. You could go immediately knight g5, or you could start attack with move c4. Hopefully you agree with me that this is a good variation for white. Okay, so what's happened after bishop e7? You know, just now think about black's play. He played bishop d6 and now he is going to play bishop e7. Of course, that's not a losing mistake, but that's a strange. And what we are playing immediately, short castle and rook e1. Now let's watch this position. We are white and we have four good placed pieces in the game against two blacks in a game, and I don't believe that bishop on e7 is doing a good job. So immediately from opening we have slight edge, and we are not playing boring position because stronger player will win this position, and our plan is to bring our not active pieces to game and play interesting middle game with slight edge. It's not boring at all. You know, black has difficulties and has to do something. Okay, for example here, maybe rook e8. Why not? Bishop g5. Our threat is to take on f6, and rook on e8 is hanging. So, okay, or maybe bishop d7 or bishop e6. Bishop on e6 is not a strong piece. So, knight d2, c3, and this is a typical white setup, and you will see in our main lines, like white is playing this setup nearly every times. Bishop d6, and I think bishop c2 with a plan to go queen d3 and to attack on h7. It's a simple position coming immediately straight from the opening, and I believe that yes, still white's got good position to play, and of course it's not easy for black to be active against us. We are playing position without any risk, and okay, I think that this is good enough to remember. Still, this is only sideline. So, a queen e2 check, and I think that the main variation is queen e7. That makes sense. Nobody is happy to play twice with the same piece in the opening. So queen e7, I think that's a good choice, and we are taking. So black has a choice to take by a bishop or by a king. Let's say that he is taking by king. Why not? We are going for short castle, and it's important that we are going immediately rook e1. Okay, we are taking. Why? We are taking because our rook waiting on a1 is going fast to e1 with check. This open file is important, and we are hungry to go there as soon as possible. Okay, so knight c3, first threat. You know, every advantage count. So why not to make a threat to get a bishop's pair advantage? Knight b5 is a threat, and for this reason I think that black has to play c6. We are going bishop g5 and check. And one more time, our 5 pieces are in the game, and black has still slight difficulties to bring somewhere this bishop, this knight, and this rook. So looks like we are 3 moves ahead of black. And we are going to increase our power because knight e5, it's another typical move here. So I think that h6 maybe happened, and bishop h4, and f4. And what do you think about this position? I think that this position is really easy to play for white. It's not important to remember lots of theory, and it's a surprise that we are playing Russian or Petroff defense, but we are playing nearly main variation of French defense. So 2 openings in one line is I think interesting. So okay, but we are still speaking about too many sidelines. Say what we remember is that we are taking, and maybe black is taking by a bishop. So we are going to f4 with a tempo. c6 makes sense, and now of course short castle. Again, we are going immediately to rook e1. So we are there, and knight d2, we remember what else, and maybe bishop g4, and now we have two options. Of course, our interesting square is on e5, so we should go there immediately or later. I think that bishop e5 is good, and now knight b3, and that's a good way how to increase the pressure. Maybe we are going knight a5 or knight c5, and still, even black is doing his best. I think that we played 15 moves, and black is not happy with this position. Move by move, we are trying to increase our pressure, and this position is easy to play. Okay, maybe a5, a4, or maybe a4 is not bad at all. Of course, we should go anyway to bishop knight c5, and here we are winning at least one of black's bishop. So we are playing endgame with space advantage, with two bishops advantage, and I think that this is a good position. Okay, maybe knight d7. We are following game Carlsen Meyer, and Magnus took on d7. Now f3. Of course, he's trying to take off some good squares of knight f6 and a4. And he's going to increase his pressure, bishop d6, b4. And now this is a big advantage for Magnus Carlsen. And g4, he's going to play h4, f4, f5. And since beginning till now, black has big problems to play even level position. What do you think about this variation? And that was only one variation, Petroff defense. And okay, let's go for another one. So I'm ready to show some games of Magnus Carlsen. First, Magnus Carlsen is a white. So he played knight f3, bishop d6, check on e2, he took, and short castle. That's exactly what we remember. That's a game Magnus Carlsen and Andrew Tank. So bishop e6, c4. We remember that nearly every times after bishop e6 is good to play move c4. Threat is to take on d5 or c5. So exchange. Now Magnus made a weak e6 pawn, and he's going to bring all his pieces to game. Every times rook e1. Now he's going to increase his advantage. Knight e4, and he's going with his king to center. Good. And knight e1, f4, knight f3. Of course, sooner or later he's going knight e5, g4, h4, g5. So that's it. g5 happened. Exchange. King is going to center. I think that this position is really easy to play, and even we are following game of Magnus Carlsen, and everybody knows that Magnus Carlsen is a super strong endgame player. Why not to play the same games and opening as Magnus? Second game, Magnus Carlsen and Akobian. So French defense, check. Of course, we are going to take. We are going to play knight c3, and the threat is knight b5, bishop d2. Okay, why not? Check. And knight e5. Nearly every times we are going there. And f4. We are going to keep this knight on e5 nearly forever. h3. g4. Now, of course, black has some difficulties, and exchange, and why not to play against weak d5 isolated pawn. Another good and interesting position coming from French defense. One more time, Magnus Carlsen and George Meyer. So French defense, taking bishop f4, what we remember, immediately to rook e1, and now knight d2, knight e5, knight b3, knight c5, exchange, f3, bishop e6, bishop d6, and b4, and Magnus is playing for victory here. Two bishops in endgame. Nearly every time it's good to push our kingside pawn h4, g4, f4. That's winning us a space in the endgame. And okay, Magnus f5, that's a good plan. Now rook e7, rook enters the 7th rank, and that's nearly game over. It was a simple, strong, and won game against a strong player, because George Meyer has a rating 2630. So now let's start the fun, because e4, e6, and we are going to main variation. Taking, knight f3. Now, of course, black has, I think, 7 options. Should play knight f6, we are playing bishop d3 and queen e2. That's simple, and that's exactly what we know, what we remember. But what's happened if now black is playing knight c6? That's a different. And it's good to remember that if we have chance to play bishop b5, we are playing bishop b5. And it's good to play here bishop b5. It's much more stronger than bishop d3. And okay, bishop b5. Bishop d7 makes sense, and I think that's the most common move. Short castle. Now c4. Of course, we could play c5, that's a threat, we are taking. And for example here, rook e1 like usually, and d5. And it's a surprise that since beginning in French exchange variation, we are attacking. We have good position, and okay, it's a simple to play because here is not too many theory. h3, d5 like usually, bishop f4, and queen f3, rook d1, good position. Hopefully you agree. So okay, let's go since beginning. We know knight f3 and knight c6, bishop b5, and another variation, for example a6. We are taking, and we are playing against bad black pawn formation. Knight e5 immediately. We are trying to win a pawn on c6. And now bishop g5. Still, we are trying to win a pawn. So f6 is a mistake, because bishop taking on f6, check on g5, check on g6, and that's a one position. So yes, we could play this position with fun and without fear that we are playing bad position. Even we don't know what to play. It's only good to be active. It's good to think about our pieces, to believe that we are playing good position. And okay, maybe bishop taking on e5. Advantage, of course, space advantage, weak dark squares. I think that is good. So don't waste too much time, but I'm trying to show you everything. Say bishop g4. It's important to remember here that we have to play h3. Check on e7 is only bishop e3, and of course nothing. And if black is taking on f3, I think that we have two bishops. And what is interesting, we could play position with long castling position with king should go for long side here. So I think that bishop h5 is good. Check on e2, and maybe g4, knight c3, bishop f4, and long castle. And that's a funny that here long castle, and I believe that this is a sharp and double edge position. surprisingly coming from exchange French variation. So it's good to remember that bishop g4 is giving us chance to play a long castle position. So, okay, c5. Again, if we have chance to play bishop b5, we are doing this move, we are playing, and knight c6, castle, knight d5, like usually, maybe even c4 is interesting. But knight d5 is much more stronger, bishop d7, rook e1, take, and we are playing against isolated weak d5 pawn, and we have two bishops advantage. Okay, I think that another reason why to believe that this position is interesting. So I'm coming back and for one more time. So we are playing knight f3, and what about move c6? It's maybe solid, but it's not too dangerous to us. We should play bishop d3, short castle, c4. I believe that even here we could play check on e2 and to play main variation, but okay, c4, h3, and we have good position with d4, d5 threat. Okay, so what about another variations? Yes, I'm going deeply and deeply, but it's not important to go such a deep in this position because we are only playing chess. Bishop f5 looks like a good move, but bishop d3, exchange is a threat check on b5, so c6, and it's good to go check on e2. And I think that bishop e3 and long castle or short castle, it's a still good position to play. Yes, I think that we saw nearly everything, but it's good to watch this video maybe twice or maybe more times to have a feeling that you know how to play this position. Bishop d6, c4, c6, and that's our main variation really. So rook, knight e5, and I think that all makes sense. So my advice how to play French exchange variation for victory is to watch this video once, twice, 4 times, then to go to play some blitz game on internet. And if you can't remember what to play, let's come back and let's watch this video for one more time and again. Then go to internet and play few games. And after that you have a feeling that you know what to play, that you are expert in French exchange variation or in Petroff variation, then you have good weapon, and this opening should do a really good job to you. I think that that's a good opening choice, and you could play without worry. You could play without learning tons and tons of theory, and I believe that you could surprise your opponent, and at the end you could enjoy unknown and interesting chess positions. So that's exactly what's going on. Hopefully you will try this opening. Hopefully you will have fun, and if yes, feel free and press like or press follow and made my day. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.